of 𝒂𝒑 and 𝒂𝒑. I'm not sure if they are in our midst, but they are supposed to be part of this very important function. Our partners, UNDP and NDI, the chairperson of NEC, that is the National Electoral Response Group, Dr. Tommy, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, colleagues from the media. It is a great honor on behalf of the Inter-Party Committee, IPC, to welcome you all to today's press conference. The IPC was established by political parties in 2017 as a forum for dialogue and cooperation to promote adherence to its MOU and Code of Conduct, promote national reconciliation and ensure consensus building amongst political parties on contested political and electoral issues. Since its establishment, the IPC has partnered with relevant stakeholders to implement activities that promote peaceful coexistence amongst political parties as key actors in national, political, and electoral processes. On the 6th November 2021, IPC issued a pre-election press statement and appealed to all political parties, presidential candidates, and supporters to adhere to the highest standards of electioneering and to promote violence-free election campaigns in the run-up to the December 4th presidential election, in line with the Janjanbureh Peace Accord that had been signed by the 18 registered political party leaders in October 2021. Today's press conference is a scorecard of the event that followed the November presser, especially the period before, during, and after the 4th December presidential election. We will also brief the nation about the role of the IPC, the role that the IPC played in promoting credible and peaceful election, and the envisaged interventions in the April 2022 National Assembly election and beyond. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, IPC congratulates all Gambians for coming out in large numbers to exercise their democratic right to vote for their preferred candidate. An unprecedented 87% of the registered voters cast their votes on 4th December 2021 and did so peacefully across the country. This was a significant jump compared to 59% voter turnout in 2016. A high level of interest in the political process and reflective of the consolidation of the democratic transition process in the Gambia. IPC also congratulates the Independent Electoral Commission, IEC, for successfully conducting the voter registration using biometric system from May to July 2021. Civic and voter education, hitch-free campaign, accreditation of observers, nomination of candidates, and all efforts made towards the conduct of credible and peaceful presidential election. The role of the security personnel in maintaining peace in all corners of the nation during the election also duly recognized by the IPC. We acknowledge the presence and role played by domestic and international observers in the election. Globally, election observation is known and embraced for assessing the quality of an election and providing recommendations to improve the electoral process. We support the implementation of the recommendations made by domestic and international observers, including the following but not limited to: revitalization of the Constitution and electoral reforms, capacity strengthening of the Independent Electoral Commission, diaspora voting, ratification of the anti-corruption bill by the National Assembly member, dialogue by Gambians on retention or replacement of the marble voting system, among others, and also for the government to thoroughly study the TRRC report and ensure that the implementation of the recommendation does not further divide us as a nation. We equally congratulate all 6 presidential candidates for conducting peaceful political campaigns and putting the peace of the country first when disagreeing with the results of the election. As stated in the laws of the Gambia and the Janjanbureh Peace Accord, legal redress and not violence is the righteous path for any candidate dissatisfied with the process or outcome of an election. We are equally grateful to our partners, especially UNDP and NDI, UNOWAS, ECOWAS, among others, for supporting the IPC to implement its mandate of promoting credible and peaceful elections. The media has also been a key partner in communicating our work to the public and creating awareness of IPC's peace-building interventions among the communities. We salute you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the IPC is glad to report to all Gambians and electoral stakeholders that its role in promoting credible and peaceful elections before and during the election has been well received by the public, domestic and international observers. The Janjanbureh Peace Accord has been widely recognized by national and international actors for committing party leaders, candidates and supporters to uphold peace before, during and after the elections. During the campaign period, political actors were regularly reminded to adhere to the provisions of the peace accord by both the public and the media. The IPC implemented other activities that contributed to the peaceful election, including, to mention just a few: peace messaging in Mandinka, Wolof, Jola, Fula, and Sarahule languages using jingles and videos aired in televisions, national and community radios, and social media platforms across the country. The jingles also urged listeners to monitor and report to IPC violations of the IPC MOU and Code of Conduct and Janjanbureh Peace Accord committed to by the political leaders, candidates, and supporters. 2. Holding of quarterly breakfast meetings to promote inter-party dialogue, frank conversations, and enhance trust among the party leaders. 3. Holding of a national stakeholder forum in support of credible and peaceful elections to recommit political leaders in the presence of national and international stakeholders to peaceful and credible elections, with a special emphasis on the need to avoid hate speech before, on, and after the election day. 4. Facilitating the first presidential candidates debate in the country that has set the pace for future debates, including during the National Assembly elections. 5. The IPC also undertook regional sensitization in the 7 regions to sensitize communities on the peace pledge and the importance of its implementation to avert electoral violence. During the election, IPC monitored the implementation of its MOU and Code of Conduct and the Janjanbureh Peace Accord, paying attention to the incident of hate speech, violence, and gender-based violence. During the week leading to the election, the IPC received a total of 60 telephone calls reporting cases of personal attacks, hate speech, physical attacks of militants, and damages to billboards and party paraphernalia. Most callers were men, and the few women callers complained of gender-based attacks. As we approach April 2022 elections, IPC will establish a situation room to monitor the implementation of its MOU and Code of Conduct and document complaints from members of the public against the conduct of IPC members, party leaders and their supporters concerning breaches of its Code of Conduct and the IEC Code of Elections Campaign Ethics. The IPC Mediation Committee, comprising representatives of all 18 political parties in the Gambia, will be responsible for the response strategy of all complaint cases received by the Situation Room. Together with partners, IPC will also facilitate political debates among the National Assembly candidates to improve voters' awareness of candidates, their policies, and general political knowledge. IPC, through its youth and women branches, will also undertake a nationwide campaign to advocate for the election of more women and youth in the next National Assembly, within the aim of achieving 30% quota for women and more youth representation. We will also work closely with CSOs and media to promote peace in 53 constituencies. Finally, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our partners, the media. We will review and translate our MOU and Code of Conduct into national languages for wider understanding by all Gambians of IPC's role in promoting gender, peace, and democracy. The IPC calls on all Gambians to maintain peace in post-election period and safeguard our hard-earned democracy by embracing the progressive options of dialogue, political tolerance, and peace. The cohesive existence of the country and the overall national interest should always supersede personal or partisan consideration. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our partners and the media. On that note, on behalf of the co-chair of the Inter-Party Committee and on behalf of my colleagues in the IPC, we thank you for honoring this invitation.
My question is, we just from the elections. What is the general view of the IPC with regards to the result of the election? Generally, was it credible, free, and fair?
Let me just reflect on what happened before this press briefing. The IPC as an institute, we had the opportunity to meet and make a reflection on the entire presidential election cycle, right from the nomination to the campaign to the voting and the declaration of results. And when we made the reflection as an institute, we realized that the election generally has been free, fair, and credible. That's the position of the IPC.
In your own observation, has all these presidential candidates that signed your peace accord acted in accordance to what they've signed?
To the fact that, to an extent, we realized that certain candidates did adhere strictly to the code of conduct that was signed by the candidates. And they also reflected on the peace accord that was signed at Janjanbureh. At some point, we realized that there was a violation of the peace accord that they signed. And as IPC, we have to draw their attention to what they agreed on. That is why towards the end of the campaign, you will realize that none of the contesting candidates was either castigating your colleague or using hate speech. I want to once again thank you, the media, because you've been very instrumental in raising awareness as far as the work of the IPC is concerned. And I equally want to thank our partners, particularly UNDP and NDI. ECOWAS have been a long-standing partner, and just as I mentioned, we are forging a relationship with NEC, but it will be formalized because now we have the time here against the National Assembly election to formally